Hello everyone, here we go again. Welcome to part 2 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. Here we are then, it's our ENSO special. So of course where we left off on part 1 of this 11th update was talking about ENSO, what's going on in the equatorial Pacific Ocean with La Nina. We looked at some forecasts, looked at the subsurface temperature anomalies, proper sort of ENSO special in the last sort of 10-15 minutes of part 1, this 11th update. Now it's time to bring you the analogues, which I know so many of you are waiting to see, the analogues for La Nina and what the parameters and possibilities are for this La Nina event that we currently have in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So I'm going to get on that for you in a moment. We will also in the latter stage of this update, we'll combine La Nina with the PDO. So of course we did that update number 9 when we focused on the PDO and the AMO for the very first time. I've never done that before at GavsWeatherVids. We focused on the PDO and the AMO in update number 9, and so many of you were wondering what a cold PDO and a La Nina event, what the parameters of that could mean, what possibilities could mean for being in a La Nina with a cold PDO. So we will combine those PDO years, but we looked at in part 2 of the 9th update. We'll combine those years that are relevant for La Nina. So that's coming up later on. So it's going to be epic. Got 94 tabs open as we begin. This update is going to be an epic update. It can be a long update as well. So sit back, relax, and I shall talk you through all of it in a moment. We are getting very close now to the end of our winter update. So now this 11th update, when it's complete, which it will be in a few minutes, that just leaves us with updates number 12 and updates number 13. One more season 1 roundup as well. After that, it's just time to deliver the forecast. So we're coming to the end now. We're coming to the end of our winter updates, but we still have 2 more updates and a season 1 roundup to go before we get to the forecast. So we've still got quite a lot of data to get through. I'm going to say thank you so much to Rich for the incredible Winter Updates gift. Thank you so much, Rich. I love it. I love Winter Updates gift. Thank you so much, my friend. And I'm also going to say thank you so much to Shryan Bruin, who has worked so hard on this update, getting all of the years together for us. So thank you so much to Shryan. Thank you so much to Richard for all of the help on this update, both part 1 and also part 2. Real team effort. Thank you so much to Shryan. Thank you so much to Richard. This could be a long video, of course, with all of the winter updates this year. They're all long. They're all epic. I wanted to throw everything at it this year because, you never know how long you've got to do these updates year by year. Time is always getting on, and so every year I like to push it even further and show you even more, but just in case it's the last time I'm going to be able to do it. So this is going to be a very, very long video. You can't watch it all in one go, then don't worry, you will be able to watch it on the winter on the or from the Winter Updates page from GavsWeatherVids.com. That's going back long time. You'll be able to watch the playlist on the GavsWeatherVids YouTube homepage, so you'll be able to watch the video on demand whenever you want to do that. And yeah, the videos are all there. All of the part 1s and part 2s of all of the winter updates are there within the playlist, so you can watch all of them on demand whenever you would like to do that. Right, I think that's pretty much everything I'm going to tell you. But first we released our 7 AM forecast. We've also released a 10 to 14 day as well. So check out those 2 if you'd like to do that. I reckon we'd better start cracking on. Don't you? I think we better start cracking on. So let's go here. We'll just go over what we talked about at the end of part 1 of this video, just to explain that we are in a La Nina. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly chart from NOAA as of the 9th of November. So we're in a La Nina. The blue colours there, that's the signature of La Nina, cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies from Peru right the way over to Indonesia. It looks like it's a relatively weak to moderate La Nina at this point. If we go here, which again we looked at in part 1 of this video, this is the cold and warm episodes by season page from now, showing all cold and warm El Nino and La Nina, or La Nina and El Nino events right way back to 1950. We see that we have reached now La Nina threshold over the last 2 tri-monthly periods, July, August, September, and August, September, October. So with July or September went down to half degree below average. That's the all-important number. 0.5 degrees is the all-important number. You've got to be at that or lower over 5 tri-monthly periods to get a La Nina designated. Next tri-monthly period, August, September, October, goes down to minus 0.7. That also reaches La Nina threshold. So if the next 1, 2, 3 tri-monthly periods reach La Nina thresholds, which I think they will quite easily, then we will have an official La Nina designated. But that's a relatively weak number for so late in the year. So we explained yesterday, but the stronger La Nina events, such as, for example, 2010 to 2011, which was a strong La Nina event, that by this point in the year had already gone well below, 1 degree below average. It was already at like a moderate level, and it got even stronger through the latter part of the year, into the end of 2010 and into early 2011. So we think that because it's so late in the year, we're basically going to run out of time to get this La Nina event to become a strong event. So we think, as I explained yesterday, this is either going to be a weak La Nina or a moderate La Nina. It could well reach moderate La Nina threshold, as last year's La Nina actually did, which went down at its lowest to minus 1.3 or 1.3 degrees below average. So it might get to a moderate La Nina threshold, but to get to a strong La Nina threshold, which will be over 1.5 degrees below average, I think we're probably going to run out of time for that. So for our analogues, we're going to be, and we've sort of gambled on this, we're going to be looking at winters that are coinciding with either weak or moderate La Ninas. It's a little bit of a gamble, but there we go. So this is our first weak La Nina winter. I know so many of you are waiting to see this. So this is how weak La Ninas look. So this is 1950, 1951. By the way, until we get to the PDO stuff, all of the analogues are going to be focusing at or after 1950. So we're not going back into the Victorian era until the final set of analogues that are going to be coincide with most PDO, cold PDO years. So for the time being, we're just focusing on 1950 onwards. So this is our first winter, 1950, 1951. Reason that we're focusing on 1950 onwards is that it's a more relevant sort of climate for this this period that we are currently in, of course. Right, okay, so this is a very, very pivotal update, of course, this ENSO data. Right, okay, so 1950, 1951 is, it has a cold, very cold start to winter. Overall, it has like a deep trough of low pressure over Western Europe with high pressure pulled out into the middle of the Atlantic. We send a jet stream southwards. Does have a very cold December in 1950, kind of similar to December 1981 in some respects, and maybe to 2010, but not as severe cold as December 2010. But it does have, a cold December with plenty of snow, and then it gets milder after Christmas, but still with some cold interludes. The next week La Nina winter is going to be 1954-1955. This one is colder later. This one has below average heights over and to the west of over and to the east of the UK, I should say, covering most of northern and western Europe. It does have a blocking signal as well out to our west. So this one is relatively mild, 1954, 1955 is relatively mild in December 1954. Around New Year, it starts getting much colder, and January and February of 1955 are genuinely cold and wintry months with a lot of northerly winds and plenty of snow going on in that winter of 1954-1955. The next weak La Nina winter is 1964-1965. This one again with below average heights across southern and Central and Western Europe. High pressure is out to our west around Greenland, Iceland. Winds are in from an east or northeasterly direction, so potentially cold and wintry with this winter. So 64, 65, it's a little bit backloaded. It gets colder later. I think it's relatively mild early on in winter, and then, January, February into March gets progressively colder and more wintry. Most of winter in the 1960s are cold, it must be said, and that's a pretty cold winter. But there are, of course, significantly colder winters in the 1960s. Next winter with a weak La Nina is 1971-1972. It's just a rather mild and dry winter. Really with low pressure out to west. High pressure is over Scandinavia, but never really in much of a position to bring all that much of a way of cold to us. So winds just tending to be in from like a southerly, southeasterly direction in that winter. A lot of mild weather in winter 71-72. Another dry, mild winter for 74, 75. Again, this is another mild winter that's coinciding with a weak La Nina, with high pressure to the south and low pressure away to the northwest. This is the beginning of the great drought of the mid-1970s, of course, so this is a very dry but also mild winter, and it gets progressively drier from 74, 75 winter onwards. 83, 84 is our next week La Nina winter. This one is a little bit cold for it's an Atlantic-driven winter, but it is a rather cold winter, actually, which is a bit of a strange, bit of an outlier. We got to regularly bring the air out of Canada, and it is usually unusually cold air that's coming out of Canada as well. So the winter of 83, 84 is zonal and westerly Atlantic driven, but is a cold variety of that, with plenty of snow in northern areas in January and February, which is unusual for a westerly Atlantic driven winter. Next winter with a weak La Nina is 2000-2001. So this one is quite a cold winter for Scotland, actually. It has blocking to our north. It has low pressure to the south. Winds are in from an easterly direction in this winter. So for some areas it does get cold at times. It's not a particularly cold winter for the south, but it's probably colder than any winter before it until like the middle of the 1990s. So there's a run of 3 very mild winters late in the 1990s. So it's colder than those, even in the south, with some snow periodically, but particularly for Scotland, actually, quite a cold winter, and especially so during February of 2001, where there is actually a lot of snow across Scotland. Next week's La Nina winter is 2005-2006. This one looks like it should be a cold winter, but it is not. So we've talked about this a lot in recent updates, because it has been showing up quite regularly. This one, again, you've got high pressure in the high latitudes. It looks like you should drive in the wind from the east and the northeast, and on the surface it looks like it should be a cold winter, but it just never really comes together until we get to like second half of February and the first half of March, and we do go into a prolonged cold spell. But before then, it's pretty much a mediocre winter, to be honest. A little bit of a failed cold winter. The next winter with a weak La Nina is 2008-2009. This one with below average heights to our south, above average heights to our north, extending into Scandinavia. So we know about this one. It's been cropping up quite a lot lately as well. This is the first of the run of cold winters from 08-09 to 12-13. And again, this one has a snowy spell. It has a very cold, frosty spell around New Year, actually, into early January. A lot of people forget, but that really did get very cold during the early part of January 2009. And then the snow, like it's first half of February, when we bring in those easters, we get plenty of snowy weather when it gets milder later. A little bit of a teaser winter maybe for 08-09. Then we've got 2016-2017. So this one is just a very nondescript sort of winter, very boring, high pressure, so centred over northern West Europe, not much going on at all. That barely makes it into La Nina, though, 2016-17. It has been included because it does just about get there, but, it's probably the weakest recorded La Nina ever, to be honest. And then finally, the last time we had a winter with a weak La Nina is 2017-2018. This is the beast from the east winter, of course, with the below average heights over and to the south and eastern country, above average heights out here, and also blocking around there as well, by the way. So regular sort of cold interludes, not particularly severe in nature through most of winter. I mean, it's right at the end of February, or second half of February, but it gets much, much colder, and we unleash the beast. Right, so let's start putting all of that together then, and this is how all Decembers combined are looking with a weak La Nina. So we tend to get lower pressure around Greenland and Iceland, high pressure out to our west, so a little bit Atlantic driven, but probably... Excuse me. Probably lining up jet stream northwest to southeast, a little bit of northwest southeast alignment to jet stream. Notice there is quite a strong blocking signal towards northern parts of Russia. There could be cold interludes during quite a few of those Decembers, but it's not a desperately cold signal. This is how all January's combined are looking with weak La Nina. So in January, we sort of strengthen that high pressure to the northeast, and we get this trough of low pressure setting up across western parts of Europe. You can see we're probably on the cold side of the jet stream there with a lot of these Januaries, digging the jet stream southwards and digging that trough southwards as well. That is because of this blocking area of high pressure to the northeast across Scandinavia and into northwestern parts of Russia. And then February is really when we go to town with cold signal for these weak La Nina winters. So clearly February has the coldest potential with high pressure then stretched out between Greenland and Scandinavia. Low pressure is to our south, winds are in from the east. So it looks like it's a scenario that's getting progressively colder as the winter goes on. Now there is the idea that La Nina winters tend to be rather front-loaded. You tend to get coldest weather early on, it gets milder later. But bear in mind, these are weak La Nina winters that look as though they're getting colder as we go further and further on. Overall, the winters with the weak La Nina's winters look like this. So we get the below average heights across Western Europe. We've got the high pressure up to our north and northeast. Winds are in from an easterly direction. So yeah, you know, it's a cold signal overall for those weak La Nina winters. It's probably not all that much of a surprise, really. You know, that's probably not all that much of a surprise, because there is a general assumption that if you have a weaker landing, you have a better chance, really, of you know, having a colder winter. And I think we confirm that with that set. Right, so we've done weak La Nina winters, but what about moderate La Nina winters, which is probably... I would say it's probably where we're going to end up with this La Nina. We'll probably, again, very similar to last year, be like borderline weak to moderate, but probably just about getting into moderate threshold. So let's have a look at those next, shall we? So let's do this then. So all of these winters are coinciding with moderate La Ninas, moderate cold events in the Pacific Ocean after 1950. So the first one is 1955, 1956. This gets severely cold. So it doesn't look overly, excuse me, it doesn't look overly dramatic in terms of a reanalysis. It does show like a bit of a blocking signal towards Greenland. You can see there's a below average heights to the south. But we have a mild December with this, and early January is generally quite mild as well in 1956, and then late in January towards the end of the month it suddenly gets very cold, and that very cold weather lasts then into February, which is a severely cold February with a sub-zero CET. We have a sub-zero CET February in 1956. Overall, you can see that the winter does favour those easterly winds. The next moderate La Nina winter is 1970 and 1971. So this one is like classic La Nina. What you'd expect, it's cold early on with high pressure around Scandinavia in December, low pressure to the south, winds in from the east. It has a white Christmas in 1970, but after Christmas it gets milder then, and January and February of 1971 are generally mild and quite nondescript. So all of the action from a cold point of view is in December of 1970. Next moderate La Nina winter is 1984-1985. So this one with high pressure to our north, low pressure to our south. This is a classic cold winter. One of the first of a trilogy of cold winters in the middle of the 1980s, and perhaps some degree coldest of them, although there is 86 as well, which has a sub-zero CT February. But anyway, I'm off on a tangent with that. This is cold winter, and particularly so in January. This has a very cold January, not quite sub-zero for the CT, but yeah, really cold January, and lots of snow during January and also February of 1985. That is a classic cold winter with a moderate La Nina. Next moderate La Nina winter is 95-96. Again, we see it with the low pressure to our south. The high pressure is blocking around Scandinavia. This is a very easterly winter. This is a cold winter again. Not quite as cold as 1985, but nevertheless, 95-96 is one of the few cold winters that we get in the middle of the 1990s, coinciding in the middle of the 1990s. Regular easterly winds. Easterlies on and off throughout this winter. And yeah, you know, often snow coming in on those easy winds. Has a very, very cold spell around Christmas week as well, when we get one of the coldest recorded temperatures in the UK. Minus 27.2 degrees, I think it was, on the 30th of December 1995. Next moderate La Nina winter is 2011-2012. So this one is cold for Eastern and Southeastern Europe. This is the freeze-up winter for the Balkans. We actually have a winter off, so we have a run of cold winters from 08-09 to 12-13, but we get this one off. This is a milder winter, more of an Atlantic flow, rather dry winter, but but milder, and does have one really cold spell around early February of 2012. Then the last moderate La Nina winter, of course, is last winter, 2020-2021, the ultimate teaser winter. We have all of the blocking within high latitudes, but we just don't drop that trough far enough south to really drive in the cold air. And so what we finish up with is quite a cold winter across Scotland, but otherwise a cooler winter with more in way of snow for the rest of the UK and also for Ireland, but not what you would classify as a really genuinely cold winter, except in Scotland. Was that a teaser for 2021-2022? I wonder. Right, so let's start putting all of that together then. So this is how all Decembers are combining with moderate La Ninas. Again, quite similar to weak La Nina, really. Does have a bit of cold potential, but average heights across the rest of Europe, a bit of a mid-Atlantic ridge, some higher pressure up here. It's quite a similar sort of signal, really, with a moderate La Nina to weak La Nina. You could see that there might be some cold potential. January looks like it has much greater cold potential. We really raise the heights, interestingly, with moderate La Nina Januaries. So lots of blocking within high latitudes, sending the jet stream further southwards. Definite risk of driving in some easterlies as well. So that's probably because 1985 is included in that. But it does look as though January generally has a colder potential anyway, but with moderate La Nina, the weak La Nina, which I was a little bit surprised about. And then February also showing up cold potential, sending that trough of low pressure further south into southern Europe, raising the heights again to the north and to the northeast, bringing the wind from an east or northeasterly direction. So all February's combined with a moderate La Nina, they are looking pretty cold as well. You know, both January and February with a moderate La Nina look like they have cold potential. All winters combined with a moderate La Nina look like that. High pressure within the northern latitudes, low pressure to our south. Winds tend to be favoured coming in from the east. Clearly a cold winter, therefore, is favoured when we have a moderate La Nina. Who would have thought that, eh? So we can also combine weak and moderate together, because sometimes you can find yourself on that border, on the cusp between sort of weak to moderate, so you know you're somewhere between either or. So let's just put all of those together finally, and then we'll have a little bit of a break, I think. So this is how all December combined are looking, with weak and moderate La Ninas included. So this is all years, basically, that we just looked at, both weak and moderate. For December, again, you know, you've got the trough of low pressure extending down west side of Europe. You've got a mid-Atlantic ridge, so there's cold snap potential, even if it is not a particularly cold signal. For all Januaries combined, with weak and moderate La Nina, again the trough of low pressure tending to be across Western Europe, raising the heights over Scandinavia. You can see that we probably, on a lot of these January, December, jet stream southwards and start bringing in wind from the east. Quite a cold looking signal for those Januaries. And then all Februaries combined with weak and moderate La Nina, looking like that, with high pressure again to our north and lower pressure tend to be from the south, and winds tend to be coming in from the east direction. So February, particularly with these weak and moderate La Ninas, looks like it could have cold potential, to be honest. And then all winters combined with weak and moderate La Ninas, again, it looks like it's a cold winter signal, doesn't it? With high pressure to our north and lower pressure to our south, winds often in from an easterly direction. I said that I would, so a cold winter is favoured with weak and moderate La Nina. I said I would probably pause the video, but I just want to show you one more thing though. Now this, so what I'm going to do next, before we have a little break, actually, is just go through the strong La Nina winters. Now I just want to put this in, you know, for, just for fun, really, and for comparison purposes. I don't think we're going to have a strong La Nina. I think we've got too late, you know, to be able to get this down to the depths of a strong La Nina. I might be surprised. We might end up with a strong La Nina, but from where we are, you know, from the last tri-monthly period, just minus 0.7, I'll be surprised if this got to strong La Nina thresholds. So for our forecast, it's the weak and moderate La Ninas that we're interested in for this winter. But I just wanted to include this anyway, just to compare, really, so you can see the difference that a strong La Nina makes. So these are all the strong La Nina winters from 1950. We've got 1973, 1974, which is a mild and wet winter, winds in from off the Atlantic, and that's just mild wet. We've got 75, 76, which is a mild dry winter, coinciding with a strong La Nina. So that's anticyclonic, and again, it's makes it part of the great drought of the middle of the 1970s. We've got 1988, 1989, which is a dry and very mild winter. Low pressure, polar vortex of doom, probably to our north. High pressure to the south, winds in from the southwest. That's an exceptionally mild but dry winter for 88, 89. We've got 98, 99, which is a little bit, not as mild as like the 88, 89, but it is a mild winter overall. It's another mild 1990s winter. Has a few cold snaps here and there, but generally temperatures above average. We've got 99, 2000. That's another mild winter coinciding with a strong La Nina. Again, low pressure to the north, high pressure out to west, winds in from a westerly direction. And then we've also got 2007, 2008, which I think is the last time we had a strong La Nina. Oh, no, it's actually one more time we had a strong La Nina. This is the penultimate time we had a strong La Nina. This one, again, dry, mild, low pressure around Greenland, Iceland, high pressure in from the southwest. Has an exceptionally mild January in 2008, 2007, 2008. And then the last time we had a strong La Nina, which just goes to show an exception, is 2010, 2011. But December to remember, as we looked at earlier on when we started this video, does coincide with a strong La Nina. So this one, again, we get the blocking around Greenland. We get the low pressure pushed southwards along the jet stream. Has an exceptionally cold December. Of course, it is a December to remember, and it's coinciding with a strong La Nina. But remember, by the end of the winter, we're actually very mild. February 2011 is very mild. Now, putting all of those strong La Nina Decembers together, this is how they're looking, and some cold snap potential. So this is possibly where the idea comes from, that if you have a La Nina, it tends to be a front-loaded, cold front-loaded signal. So with these strong La Ninas, we do tend to get the coldest weather earlier, with winds, it's not great cold potential, but it is a mid-Atlantic ridge. You could see that there's cold snaps possible in those December. So that's where the idea is coming from. Because look what happens when you get to January. This is how all January's combined looking with a strong La Nina. Raising the heights to the south. Low pressure around Iceland. Jet streams up here. A dry, mild signal for those Januaries. Potentially very mild and dry signal I mean, it's a similar story February as well, but what a difference, isn't it, when you get a strong La Nina going compared to weak or moderate La Nina. It makes so much difference. So you wouldn't believe it, really, would you? It's a few degrees extra, or a few tenths of a degrees extra, really, in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. It makes such a massive difference. Why is that? Why would that be? I wonder. Let me know in the comments if you've got any reasoning for why this happens. But the thing is very, very, very strong that when you have a strong La Nina, you do favour a very mild winter signal with the coldest snaps only, but coldest potential early on in December, but the rest of winter generally are right off the cold. This is how all winters combined look. We have a strong La Nina with low pressure around Iceland and Greenland, high pressure to the south, and winds in from the west. What a difference it makes when you have a strong La Nina compared to weak or moderate. Now, if you're a cold and snow lover, you can get out from behind the sage long, because I was only including those for, you know, comparison purposes, so we can have a look at the difference. I don't think that those strong La Nina winters are relevant for this winter. I think it's going to be either weak or moderate La Nina. So if I'm wrong, it will make a big difference, though, as we've just seen. But on where we're pitching this forecast is at weak to moderate for for the winter. Right, I'm going to pause the video there. How long have we been talking for? Let's have a look. So half an hour. Right, we've got plenty more to show you, though, so I'll pause the video there when we come back. So we've looked at, ENSO La Nina by strength. Now I'm going to look at it by position. So more about that in a second, but I'll pause the video there. You go off and, sort of digest what you've just seen, what you've just witnessed, and then come back and we shall resume in around 2 seconds. I'll see you then. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the epic part 2 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. Wow. I hope you enjoyed it so far. Definitely the weak and moderate La Ninas are favouring. This is ENSO special, of course. Definitely weak and moderate La Ninas are favouring a colder winter outcome. Not if you get a strong La Nina going, though. Right, so we looked at winter and La Nina by strength. Now let's look at it by position, though, because that can make a little bit of a difference as well. So, right, this is how, again, let's go back to this chart from now. This is how La Nina looks as of the 9th of November. I'm recording a video on the 10th of November. That is the signature for La Nina just there. You see that the coldest anomalies to average are right through here. That's like the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. It's not quite as cold over on the eastern side of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Not quite as cold in the west either. So this is kind of like a central based La Nina at the moment. Now, how that compares to last year, that's how it looked last year with La Nina. So again, this time last year also it was rather central based, but colder than this year. And I think this year is probably a little bit more uniform. Let me know in the comments what you think. We looked at this yesterday in part 1 as well, by the way, but I reckon, it's a little bit more uniform this year across the whole of the ENSO regions compared to last year, when the focus last year really was in that central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, and it was a stronger La Nina signature as well. So last year we did get just to moderate La Nina threshold. This year we might be pegged back in the end at a weak La Nina, and just rather a uniform La Nina as well. But sometimes you can get like an eastern based La Nina, that's when it's colder through there. Sometimes you can get like a central based La Nina, which is when it's cold around there. And that's more or less what I've got at the moment and what I had last year. I mean, sometimes you can get like a uniformed sort of La Nina signature. So let's have a look at some data then for eastern-based weak or moderate La Ninas. So this is combining weak and moderate. We're not necessarily all that interested in strength now, but we have taken out like the strong La Ninas. They're not, we don't think they're relevant for this winter. So all of these years are weak and moderate La Ninas combined, but looking at the position, starting off with eastern base. So this is how all Decembers combined are looking, following weak or moderate eastern base La Ninas. Again, we get the mid-Atlantic ridge out to our west. We get low pressure up here. Probably same trajectory on the northwest southeast alignment. There, it's sort of classic cold signal, but there could be cold snap potential. All January's combined, following eastern-based weak and moderate La Ninas, tends to get the low pressure centred southwards with higher pressure going to north. By the way, this includes 54, 55, 55, 56, 64, 65, 71, 72, 84, 85, 95, 96, and 2017, 2018. Just, you know, in case, I'm sure you can see those years anyway, but just to explain the years that we're looking at that were eastern-based, weak or moderate La Ninas. So, again, much colder potential for the Januaries, high pressure blocking up to north, low pressure south, winds in from the east on a lot of those Januaries. And then this is how all February's combined looking, when we have eastern-based weak or moderate La Ninas, again with the high pressure to the north, around Iceland and up towards Scandinavia, low pressure to the south, winds in from an easterly direction. So obviously, again, those Februaries when we have an eastern-based La Nina favouring a colder outcome, when it's a weak or moderate La Nina, and all winters combined following eastern-based weak or moderate La Nina, sort of like that. High pressure again blocking to the north, low pressure to the south. On average, winds in from the east. There will be years that deviate from this. 71, 72, for example, was a mild winter. But overall, it's a cold winter signal with an eastern-based weak and moderate La Nina. It's how central-based weak and moderate La Ninas are looking. So for December, a milder signal for the Decembers with lower pressure to the north, higher pressure to the south, much flatter and much more westerly when we combine all Decembers with a weak or moderate La Nina and a central base La Nina 2. Or January is nowhere near as much of a blocking signal, interestingly. It does look like the position makes quite a difference, doesn't it? And we tend to pull in winds. We could get cold snap potential with that. We tend to pull in winds from the northwest, but nowhere near as much blocking with a central base La Nina compared to an eastern base La Nina. And then all February's combined with a central base weak or moderate La Nina. That's probably the coldest potential again. Higher pressure over just to the north. Winds tending to be in more from the east with that. By the way, this includes 74, 75, 83, 84, 2000, 2001, 08, 09, 2008, 2009, 2011, 2012, and 2016, 2017, just for interest purposes. So yeah, probably February has the coldest signal, anticyclonic though. For the winters though, not as cold actually, nowhere near as cold as signal, not as much blocking. Does look like it makes quite a big difference. Whether you have an eastern or a central base La Nina, low pressure up here. These aren't as bad as like if we was looking at the strong La Ninas, and including those as well. But yeah, it does make quite a big difference by the look of it in terms of the position of the La Nina. And then of course you can't get like the mixed of two. That's a little bit rarer. So the last time we had that was actually last winter. 2021 was like a uniform, I suppose, mixed or uniform La Nina across all ENSO regions, and also 1970, 1971. So it's only 2 years for this. So very, very small, very small analog sort of years. But we tend to get higher pressure blocking to the north, lower pressure to the south, winds in from the east in the December, so it's 2 Decembers anyway. And then January's, all January's combined, or both January's combined, it's only 2. Tend to have low pressure off the Atlantic, but with a blocking signal. And then we also have all February's combined that look like that. It's February 71, February 2001, higher pressure towards Scandinavia and going northwards. You know, you could get like a colder signal from a mixed or uniform La Nina, but that's a little bit rarer, to be honest. I mean, all winters combined look like that. Actually, we return back to the blocking signal, but I don't think it's as clear-cut as like the eastern-based La Ninas. Now, what are we going to get with this year? Makes you wonder. So let's just go back here. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are we going to get with this year? Will we get like a central-based La Nina, and that favours a milder outcome? Will it sort of become an eastern-based La Nina? It could do. To me, it looks pretty uniform, and so my guess is that this is going to finish up, you know, very similar to 2021, in that it would be pretty uniform across all ENSO regions. But of course, we will see about that. won't we? Right, okay, so just to have a look at the next brief set, so as well as, so we've done La Nina by strength, weak, moderate, we've done La Nina by position, central, eastern, or uniform. The last thing to look at is back-to-back La Ninas, because this will be a back-to-back La Nina. We're back on the CPC page from NCP and NOAA. So just to confirm, this will be a back-to-back La Nina. We did have La Nina last year, as we've already explained. It just about got to moderate La Nina thresholds last year. There's the blue numbers below, half a degree below average, telling us that last winter was a La Nina winter. And so this will be a back-to-back La Nina. So we're going to look, finally, before we have a little break, we're going to look at weak or moderate La Ninas coinciding with back-to-back La Ninas. And this is how all December's combined are looking. So like a second year La Nina, if you like, that's weak or moderate. And for all December's combined, again, we see that cold snap potential, not a classic cold signal, but a cold snap potential. High pressure out to west, low pressure to the northeast, winds in from the northwest. There is the potential of cold snaps there via the mid-Atlantic ridge, but not a classic cold signal. All January is combined with back-to-back weak or moderate La Ninas. Look like that. Low pressure to the north, a little bit more westerly with those Januaries, so perhaps not as much cold potential. And then all February's combined with back-to-back La Ninas, like the second year of La Nina, showing high pressure to our north, low pressure to the south. Winds tend to be in from an easterly direction, so February has the coldest potential with these back-to-back La Ninas that are weak or moderate in strength. And in terms of the winters combined, that's how it looks. Low pressure to the east, higher pressure to the west, where we're like in a second year weak or moderate La Nina. Okay, so at that point we are... Oh, okay, the webcam on there, didn't I? I didn't realise I'd done that. Right, so at that point we're going to pause the video, and I reckon when we come back we've got one last set to show you, and that set is going to be quite interesting, actually, because that set will be focusing on the PDO. So many of you have asked me about this. What happens when you have a negative PDO, a cold PDO, along with La Nina? We're going to try and explain very shortly. So I shall see you in 2 seconds for the final set of analogues in this epic ENSO special. See you soon. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the final section of part 2 of the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. It's the ENSO special. We've looked at La Nina by strength, weak, moderate, and even strong. We've looked at La Nina by position. You know, central, eastern, or mixed. We've looked at back-to-back La Ninas. The last thing we can look at is the thing that you are all, I know, waiting for, and that is to combine La Nina with the PDO, with the Pacific Decadal Oscillation. In update number 9, part 2 of update number 9, we looked at winters that were coinciding with pretty strong negative PDOs, 1 degree or more below average in October. We combined the AMO in with that as well, by the way, but this is going to be focusing on the PDO, not the AMO. So we did that in update number 9. It was like left hanging, wasn't it? So many of you were wondering what happens when you combine that cold PDO with La Nina, with a cold ENSO event, and we sort of left it hang in the air, didn't we? A little bit of a cliffhanger, I think, because so many of you have asked me about it. But we always intended, Shrine and I always intended that we would, you know, combine the PDO, we would come back to the PDO in our ENSO special. So for this last set of analogues, that is what we're going to do. If you enjoyed this ENSO special, we've not got long to go now. If you enjoyed this ENSO special, please can you smash the like button, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You will be able to see future winter updates of There's not many more left, and drop a comment and let us know what you think about this epic ENSO special. Right, so for this set, we've only been looking, of course, to this point at 1950 onwards. So this set, we're going right way back to the 1800s as well, as we did have those years included with our cold PDO warm AMO analogues. So this is how the winters are coming out when we have a negative PDO, or this is like the first negative PDO and La Nina winter, if you like, from that set that we showed you in Update 9. This is the winter of 1892-1893, which looks like it's quite a cold winter. High pressure around Greenland and low pressure to our south and east, and probably bringing wind from an easterly direction with that winter. The next winter with a negative PDO and La Nina combined is 1894-1895. This is a severely cold winter with low pressure plunging southwards, high pressure around Greenland and Iceland. We send a jet stream down here, we're bringing the winds from the east. It has a sub-zero CET February in 1895, severe cold in February of 1895. The next negative or cold PDO and La Nina winter is 1909-1910. This is a very wet and not particularly cold winter. This is a very wet winter, though, with low pressure dominating across northern and western parts of Europe. Then we have 1916-1917. This is another very cold winter, not quite as severe as 1895. It doesn't have a sub-zero CT month, but it is a really cold winter, and quite severe in its own terms, really. Middle of the First World War, we get the low pressure down here. We have high pressure blocking around Greenland. That's another cold winter that's coinciding with La Nina and a cold PDO. Next, we have 1933-1934. This is a very anticyclonic winter, but does have some cold weather with winds in from the east. We have 1950-1951, which we've already talked about earlier on. So this has a very cold December with a lot of snow, and then it gradually gets milder as the winter progresses. We've got 1955-1956, which again, we've already talked about. This again has a severely cold February with winds in from the east during February, higher pressure up there, low pressure through there. Quite mild up to late January, and then it really sets up a very severely cold month in February. Then we've got 1970-1971. We've already talked about that one as well. It's coinciding with a negative PDO, cold PDO, and also La Nina. So this one, again, with high pressure to the north, winds in from the east. By the way, with the La Nina strength, we're not just focusing on weak and moderate with this. It's all La Ninas with these cold PDOs. But a lot of these years are still coinciding with what we've already seen. Of course, that one has a white Christmas in 1970 and then gets milder later. We've got 1973-1974, which we know is a strong La Nina, so probably not all that relevant from a La Nina perspective for this winter, but nevertheless, it's included with these negative PDOs. It's a very wet and quite mild winter. We've got 1975-1976, which again we know is a strong La Nina, but that's a dry and mild winter. Strong La Nina and cold PDO combined. Got 1999-2000, which has lower pressure to the north, higher pressure out to west, winds in from a westerly direction. That's a pretty mild winter as well. Have 2000-2001. That's a La Nina winter. That's, of course, a much weaker La Nina. But it is coinciding with a cold PDO. We know about this one. Talked about it earlier on. Cold winter for Scotland, less so further south, but does have some cold snaps. We've got 0809, 2008-2009. Again, with high pressure, bringing in winds from the east, particularly so in February of 2009. And then we've got 2010-2011, which did have a cold PDO along with a strong La Nina. So that, of course, including the December to remember when the high pressure locks in over Greenland. 2011-2012 is the last year, but we have a La Nina coinciding with a cold PDO. That one has high pressure just to our west. Very cold winter for eastern parts of Europe. But we have a winter off in otherwise a run of colder winters. Right, let's start putting all of that together. This is how all December's combined are looking with a cold PDO and with La Nina included as well. So with this, we tend to get a mid-Atlantic ridge going up towards Greenland with a trough of low pressure across northern West Europe. Winds are in from a north or easterly direction. Quite a cold signal for those Decembers. All January's combined look like we're favouring a cold outcome. Overall, with higher pressure to the north, lower pressure to the south, winds in from the east, a cold signal for all January's combined with a negative PDO and also with La Nina. And then all February's combined with a cold PDO and La Nina combined. Again, high pressure to the north, low pressure to the south. Winds fade to be in from the east. That's a cold signal for those Februaries as well. Overall, there will be exceptions, of course. All winters combined with a cold PDO and with La Nina has low pressure to our west and south and over country, high pressure blocking around here. It is a cold winter signal, particularly so for January and February. Narrowing things down, just look at the years after 1950. So this is how all Decembers combined are looking with negative PDOs and La Ninas after 1950. We get low pressure to the east, high pressure in the middle of the Atlantic, perhaps a northerly signal for those December's cold snap potential. All January is combined with a negative PDO and also La Nina combined look like that. That's not such a cold signal after 1950. But there's still a little bit of cold potential, relatively high heights within high latitudes. And then all February's combined with a negative PDO and La Nina post 1950, after 1950, higher pressure to our north northeast, low pressure to our south, winds often in from the east. That looks like it could be a cold signal for those Februaries on average. And then all winters combined following a negative PDO and La Nina combined look like that after 1950, look like that. High pressure in the Atlantic, low pressure over northwest Europe, winds in from the east. It looks like it's a relatively cold winter signal. Lastly, the last thing we can do is show you the moderate, weak or moderate La Ninas with a negative PDO. So, but of course, that last set was including the strong La Ninas. We've taken those out. Now we just look at negative PDO with a weak or moderate La Nina post 1950, all Decembers combined. This is basically like the set, I suppose. And that's how it looks. Mid-Atlantic ridge with trough of low to the east. Winds tend to be in from the north. There is cold snap potential with those Decembers. All Januaries combined, we have a negative PDO and a weak or moderate La Nina after 1950. Trough of low pressure over the UK and Western Europe. High pressure is within high latitudes. The jet stream could be down here some of the time. It is a cold snap potential for those Januaries. That looks very similar to January 2021, actually. And then all February's combined, where we have a negative PDO with a weak or moderate La Nina after 1950. We've gone back to where we started, really. High pressure to the north, low pressure to the south. Winds in from the east. A cold February would be favoured in a lot of these years. All winters combined, we have a negative PDO with a weak or moderate La Nina. Back to where we began this epic update, with low pressure to the south, high pressure blocking to the north. It looks like it's a cold winter signal. That looks like a cold winter signal when we have a cold PDO with a weak or moderate La Nina. And we're after 1950. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings an end to the 11th Winter 2021-2022 update in two parts. The ENSO special is complete. Wow, wow, wow. What did you make of that, everybody? Good, wasn't it? So there we go. That is everything that you could possibly want to see about ENSO and about La Nina. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's been informative. I hope in years to come people will come back and revisit these videos, and I hope we've created something that will last, and a legacy that will last with these winter updates. I really hope that from the bottom of my heart that you'll come back in years to come, and view the data over and over. Hopefully you will. But there we go. That's the 11th Winter update in two parts complete. So you will find out at the beginning of next week's 12th update, part 1, that you're going to see on Sunday. You will find out how this 11th update has moved the thermometer, if indeed it has. Will it have pushed things further to cold? Will it have pulled things back towards mild? Or will there be no change? You will find out the very first thing that you see at the beginning of the 12th Winter update, and that'll be coming up on Sunday. Thank you so much to Shryan and to Richard for the help on this incredibly epic 11th update in two parts. And at 53 minutes, it's been such an epic. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.